I got to tell you something, folks. I have a special hate in my heart for uh, OBS sometimes. um, yeah, it's good times. It's good times. I'm going to hide my screen for a second here because I think in my haste to pull things up, there we go. All right. I may have to fix that later, but everybody's online at least, so that's cool. Thanks everybody for coming. It is FriYAY. So there we go. Okay. Uh yeah, good times. I've been working on a few things. Uh there's a few items. There we go. All right. So gonna be an interesting weekend for me. It's Friday. I haven't been here for a couple days. Yesterday I had a late meeting at work because of things. So, you know, life of a glamorous project manager, I guess. Yeah, maybe. It's an interesting discussion. You know what? There's something I do want to bring up here. So a bit esoteric, but we're logging into my LinkedIn. Don't worry, I don't advertise where I work, or follow a bunch of people that I actually do follow. There was a story. Where was it? Somebody had said, let's see. Here we go. So somebody was, JR, good friend of mine, longtime Slacker, follower of the show, hanging out, really awesome person. He's also the lead security operations for Ubisoft. So that's kind of cool too. There was a comic that posted up in about, why people leave high paying jobs. And, there's, somebody talking about handing in the resignations. Nice little comic. Ha ha ha. You're going to go find a better job with a pay cut. And, you know, talking about the place is toxic and they pay too well to quit. There's a lot to that. There's actually those various um, what do they call that? The cliffs that happen when you get stock at a big organization. Every year they tend to give you more and more stock with the idea that, well, if you leave, you're going to lose 10,000 shares of stock. You're going to lose, 500 shares of stock or whatever it is that you have. And the idea is that's what keeps you there because, well, that in a year, that 500 shares will be worth $500,000 or I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. So, money's not the only thing important. What else is there? One person's talking about culture, um, you know, talking about culture, work-life balance, which are all great things. I'm not downgrading any of these things. Um, and they're talking about collaborative and transparent ideas and what a collaborative culture is, which is great. Working together to get things done, employees trusting um, the comic as you read through is more like it feels like the us versus them on like why are are there big companies out there that actually have a good work life culture. I don't know. I've worked in big corporations. One of the companies I worked for was HP and then or EDS and then it was HP. I worked at Xerox. I've worked at even small companies. I worked at a consultancy that had 9 people. I was employee number 9. It's now gotten a little bigger because it was M&A'd. Uh, I've worked in small companies, medium-sized companies, large companies. Leviathan Security, which was the consultancy I worked at before I worked at this place, is had 50 people at their company. I mean, it wasn't a small company, but it wasn't a big company either. And there's a lot to be said for both sides of that: the really big company versus the really small companies, or the consultancies, or the ones that you actually build um, yourself from the ground up. If you have a consultancy, we have a whole channel in our Slack about hanging the shingle, if you will. What does it take to be your own boss? Let's see. Mick Douglas, of course, started a company from the ground up and has actually built it out quite nicely. There's a lot of folks. Bill Semp, I believe, is his name. Bill. Where's Bill? Yeah. Yeah, my friend Bill has worked as a consultant for nigh on to 20 years. Good dude. worked remotely before it was even cool. Comes in as a fixer, is a really awesome person. So there's a lot of reasons to leave a company. You don't, and there's the old saying, you don't leave company, you leave bosses. In this case, you know, um, it's a nice you know thing story to read in why you would leave a high paying job. Doink. So, and there's a lot to be said, and there's an institutionalization, I would imagine, at any job you go to. I think I felt it most strongly when I was in the military. Even after being in for 7 years, there was still that trepidation of leaving what you know, what feels comfortable. Once you get the ability to feel like you need to leave that organization. For me, the military, it wasn't like I wanted to leave. I wasn't say I was forced out, but it was a the options I had were like go to a sea school, which would have turned me into a forecaster and then gone to a ship, or leave the command that I was at and go to a ship. So it was like I was going to go to a ship at some point, and I really did not see that as a good furthering of my career, having worked in N6, and which is the IT department. For those of you in the military, not military, we have different department names. Like N1 is operations, or N2 is something else. N6, in this case for the Navy, was the IT department, or security, information security for some. G6, I believe Army has G6 or something like that. Anywho, even after 7 years of being in the military, it felt very institutionalized, like you get inured to that type of, thought, and you get comfortable in that position, and, um, even though I was moving every 3 years, I felt the need I needed to get out of the Navy, only because it was not going to be a good continued use of my skills. I found more use in my IT skills than in my weather skills, my weather observer skills at that point. But it was a really long, difficult decision. And there's a lot of folks, especially who work for big organizations, they get, inured to that culture as well. And either they thrive in it, or they're just there to uh continue working because they know, well, if I can just make it through this year, I'm going to get another bonus. I'll get another, 350 shares of stock, stock, stock. Um, and there's sometimes I wonder. So there's a lot of discussion here about toxic culture. I don't know who wrote this. It looked, when I first read it, it looked a lot like the oatmeal kind of stuff. But yeah, this person. It feels like this person worked at several bad organizations, maybe in departments or groups that were very not good. Uh, and so you go back up here to the top, and the one thing that people are talking about here with culture and being able to quit, making a pay cut and what have you. Uh, I don't believe the person prefaced this by saying, you know, this person felt comfortable enough that they could quit because either they had already worked in this company long enough that they were able to sock away enough money to continue living. It's great to take a pay cut to go to a job that you would love to do, but if you take, like, my mentee, he's actually talking to a company. They've given him an offer letter, and he's taking a pay cut to retool, and I did that too. Um, he is taking a pay cut from what he's working on as a first responder to being a SOC analyst, which is great. It's what he wants to do. It's his passion. He wants to get into infosec in any way he can. This is, that is something that he took the conscious effort to do so. And I was like, hey, you know what? You might have to do that. When I moved from a more technical role to a PM related role, I took a pay cut, and I knew I was going to end up taking that. And it was about a 20% pay cut, I think. Um, because you have to think about bonuses, the bonus you're not going to get this year versus the bonus you should have gotten, or might get, versus what you might be getting in the other place. So, but uh, the one thing that these folks are don't seem to talk about in this discussion is, talking about getting a pay cut and moving to a company you love. Depending on how long this person worked at, I'm going to call it Crap Corp because that's what I called it before. Uh, they could afford to take that pay cut if they're making a lot of money, like this guy said here. Oh, you know what, the money is awesome and is amazing, and um, if you're doing it right at a big corp like this, you're going to spend a year, 2, 3 years. You're going to get paid potentially an insane amount of money, and that allows you to do things like pay off your credit card bills, pay down your student debt, uh, pay off your credit cards, debt, pretty much debt, be debt free, for instance. If you do it right, like there's some people that go from making 80K a year to one of these big corporations making 120, 130 a year, and that's that money could either go into your 401k, it can go into a rainy day account, it can be used to pay off your like I said, your debts, and if you can leave that crap corp and go to a place that you actually love with a pay cut, you may be able to live on the pay cut and not have to worry about that. So um, God, I hope we've got okay, we've got viewers. Okay. But yeah, I was just reading this, and the one thing that I didn't see in this story here was, you know, the crap corpse look good on your resume too. That was one thing one of my friends had told me. Uh, he said, if you work in IT or security or development work, what do you call those? Mangas? Mangas. A manga. Working at a manga, which is I'm assuming Microsoft, Apple, or Amazon. N would be Netflix. G is a Google. The other A could be an Amazon or an Apple or something like that. They used to be called Fangs, which was Facebook. M could be Meta as well. So there's a number one of mangas, Fangs. Yeah. So I mean, having those on your resume, if you're trying to move up in your career, some people want to continue moving laterally. That's fine too. But yeah, I don't see, I did not see, yeah, opportunities for growth. That's a double. I mean, some smaller companies. I have worked at smaller companies where you're going to have to hope somebody dies before you move up in the organization because some people are nice, fat, and happy where they're at. So sometimes you have opportunities for growth in smaller companies. Sometimes you don't. And it, I think a lot of this can be taken with a grain of salt. And of course, being a white male, I recognize that my experience may not always be the same experience that everyone else has been dealing with. And I have left companies where actually when I left HP in 2009 in San Diego, we were moving to Austin, and the only thing I could think of is I'm getting the hell out of this place because I wasn't a fan of the leadership at the time. This was under the Mark Hurd administration, but we were part of EDS. So I went to Austin jobless with my wife, who already had a job. Yeah, I mean, I would take this article with a grain of salt. Really depends on you know your experience, and depending on various factors, your experiences at crap corps or non-crap corps. Maybe the crap corp that you're thinking of is not. Maybe you've worked at Facebook for 10 years and you enjoy it. Just really what you depend on getting out of it. But um, yeah, just something I read from JR, and uh, as I had posted here, I said, you know, one thing this article leaves out: if you've worked at Crap Corp for 1 to 2 years, you've gotten a bit of stock, nice 401k donation, credit card paid off, closed on a house with a lower rate. I meant lower rate mortgage. Maybe a decent bonus or two, and have a bit of cash socked away. Um, so yeah, my sticking point for a lot of my companies that I've ever worked for since we started the podcast has been I need to be able to do my extracurriculars. That is a that is a non-negotiable point for me. If I cannot, feel like I can speak publicly, if I can't feel like I can stream, there are companies out there, and I will, there's a bank that I know of, a friend of mine who went to work there. This bank that is in America, or the bank in America, wink, pretty much said they couldn't do anything outside of work that wasn't approved by the company. And it really sucked because that person was very smart and very intelligent, and um, kind of goes to the culture there, right? So my thing with my jobs is I need to be able to continue doing this, and the podcast and the nonprofit and the conference organization, and being able to speak if I feel like I want to speak. Um, and so far every company that I've ever worked for has been very positive with that. Because I up front told them this is going to happen. This is not I'm not asking you permission. This is what I'm telling you that I'm doing. So it's been really good. A lot of organizations have been okay with that. So, um, yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on that? As have you ever worked at a place where you're like couldn't wait to leave it, or couldn't wait to get yourself out of there? I mean, have you ever taken a job that you knew was going to make you less money, but was going to be more fulfilling mentally? I mean, that the problem I've got with, and that's just the problem with working and actually interviewing is sometimes you get sold a bum steer. Sometimes you get told something and you aren't actually doing what it is you were hired for. I know several people working at a local place here in the Seattle area, thought we're going to be doing one thing and ended up being in the GRC team working compliance issues or something like that. Sometimes those recruiters, they tell you things just to get you to sign on the dotted line. In this case, um, actually, you may see some of those if you come to Bsides Seattle this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me go Bsides Seattle. See if they've got the speaker lineup in there. So what I thought I would do, yeah, tickets are sold out, won't be available at the door. Really great. They're going to require proof of COVID vax, as well as masks if you're going to be indoors. I don't have both my boosters. I have one booster, so that's going to be all right, I think. Oh, they don't have details. Dang it. Oh, conference staff, conference. Let's see. Talks. Here we go. 2022 schedule. Let's go see what we got going on here. Oh, it's really small. All right. Let's pull up full screen here. Okay, so we've got 4 tracks. Wowzers. All right. Let me make that a little larger. Detection engineering at MS Tick lessons learned. Okay. Hype and reality, practical advice for implementing and evaluating AI and ML for cybersecurity. United in paranoia. If I don't see it, maybe you will. Is there a description of what the talks are? No. Where the hell are we? Oh, they put it in Scrib. Okay. Looks like all the talks start at 10. Oh, cool. That means I won't have to get up super early. Cameras, CACs, and clocks. Enterprise IoT security sucks. Story of 2 million interrogated devices. Interesting. Okay. Silent scream of every network. The horror that is Active Directory. Log4j and supply chain security, or how I stopped worrying and loved the bomb. Nice. Hey, KTNA405, how are you? Thanks for coming in. First time viewer. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Also want to acknowledge then R02 for following, and more to keep track of for following as well. So, yeah. Oh, and Patcha Mama 62. Okay. Patcha Mama 62. um, Hello, KTNA4. Hi. Is everything working all right? Can you hear me? Everything is good. You're following along in the show notes and everything. Okay, there you go. Okay, just wanted to make sure that I'm not screaming into the void for whatever reason, and I'm a little late today because um, OBS didn't want to play nice, and apparently, if you go into the tools directory, somehow a timer got set, and if you go to the output timer and for some reason enable streaming timer every time was checked, and I was having issues earlier, and it was originally set for 30 seconds. I don't know how it got set, but it would record for 30 seconds when I was doing some testing, and then I set everything to zeros and apparently left this box checked. And when you do so, you can click start streaming all day and it'll go for about a second and then die. And you should have been here in my office in my studio when I was having a hell of a time trying to get that shit to work. And yeah, so that is what happened. Having I don't know how this stable streaming timer thing got enabled, but it did, and it caused me a lot of consternation. So just one of those lessons learned things. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of great discussions here. I wish there was users. I don't see names or anything, which kind of let me see if I can download the PDF if it's any better. Nope, still one page. All right. Well, that's lovely. I guess they're doing that on purpose for, you know, come see the talk, but it doesn't necessarily who's being talking, but one sec. All right. Had to shut my door. My wife, who some of you heard me talking about, came back from India yesterday, so that's pretty cool. Lunch and book signings. Interesting. So there's going to be a book signing of somebody somewhere. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that's about, but it's 90 minutes. That's cool. Surviving a compromise of your favorite package repository. I had quarter of a million office users, and so can you. Okay. Strategies of a world class CSOC. Demystifying capture the flags. Oh, that might actually be interesting. Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. Oh yeah, up here. Anatomy of an IoT third-party risk management program. Oh man, there's like two IoT security talks. Can't see them at the same time though. That kind of blows. IoT security is kind of my thing these days. So, um, low budget home lab. Okay, that's a good one. Detailed look at how Spectre attacks change web security model and mitigations available to developers. Hey, a little privacy, please. Privacy risk management and remediation. Sorry if this is, I apologize if this is boring. I'm going to be attending my first conference in 3 years. So, well, my first non conference that I organized in the last 3 years. So, last year I just went to InfoSec Camp Out, which was my own conference I'm co organizing. So, yeah, so looks like air wall change, get a snack and bev. Okay, okay. Uh, machine. Well, there's a lot of machine learning can help you achieve zero trust for your application identities. Uh, okay, privacy risk management and remediation. How to build trusting teams when no one trusts when you trust no one. Man, there's some really negative stuff titles in this shit. So, yeah, okay. I would go in. I think I'm going to probably go and see this one only because I'm hoping that that's completely misleading. I mean, yeah, yeah. Interesting discussions. I guess they're trying to keep that specific 90 minutes for lunch. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's some good ones here. Um, yeah. All right. So, if you are coming to Bsides Seattle tomorrow, I will be there. Oh, and I'm recording, or I will try to. Ideally, in old timey days, back when we were doing conferences, before I did the stream, the idea was that you could, uh, I would go to Bsides Seattle, or I'd go to DerbyCon, or I'd go to another conference. And when the speaker that I had just finished listening to would finish, I would go up, introduce myself, and say, "Hey, I have a podcast. I'd like to do some recording of you. Maybe a couple of 10 minutes or something on the chat." And then we record some audio and I'd post it up. So um, yeah, I'm hoping that that's still possible tomorrow. But if I do and I get some audio, I'll post it up into our Discord channel. I'll so for anything that's interesting. So I'm really going to have to figure out which one I want to do: IoT security sucks, or anatomy of IoT third party risk management program. Probably I'll do the hour long one. But yeah, I'd love to I like to get people on because B-sides is great, and there's going to be about 70 or 80 people who's going to see them. Ideally, I try to sell it as well. Your talk could also be heard by several thousand people on the podcast, and you can get yourself out there. Yeah. So if you're going to be at B-Side Seattle tomorrow, look me up. I'll be the I'll look like this. This is what I look like, and um, okay. So that's interesting. So talk review sponsors villages. Ooh, there's going to be there should be a lock sport. Okay, secure code warrior. Tournament will have challenges for Python, C Sharp, .NET, Java, React, Node.js, and Go. Okay. Crypto Village. Crypto Village is usually fun. Career Village. Interesting. Okay. Lockpick Village. Huh. There's any spots available for mock interviews? I don't mind giving them. I actually like helping out. But and of course, I'm sure there's going to be Lock Sport, Chill Out Lounge. That's cool. Um, They must have just modified the chill out lounge to be. Oh no, looks like yeah. All right, very cool. Yeah, so hopefully Jack will be there. Dark Knight Diaries, Jack Rysider is in the area hopefully, and he'll be able to come and hang out. So let me see infosec related items. I wanted to just do a little news today because I'm really, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm avoiding doing the sequel module for Hack the Box. Really, I don't know why, but it's just making me anxiety ridden because I know that they say it's easy, but it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. I shouldn't even, I'm going to have to do so much work. And yeah. So let me see. Oh, what? Oh, I heard about this guy. Yeah, this is old though. Wow. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Former yes, 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 yes. Was this yeah. So eBay back in the day, there was a I don't I'm assuming this is the same article, but 3 4 years ago. Oh no, yeah, I know. Okay, Steiner. Yes, yes, yes. This was a crazy story. I mean, they actually flew to these people's hometown and was like harassing them, like these people, like senior level eBay employees and executives, um, harassed them and flew to their home and were not online and offline. Right, right. They sent Steiner's live insects, the head of a fetal pig, a funeral wreath, a pig's head I mean, they sent this stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Um, yeah, I remember it being really crazy. All of these folks were terminated. Wow. Okay. $57 million severance package. Seems like you would want to go after those people by, you know, their severance package for 57 million. Jeez. Um, well, good. They're gonna need that $57 million to continue getting getting their you know paying for their legal defense, I guess. So um, that's crazy. All right. Yeah, that was a skateboarding dog story, but it was like, I cannot believe that a company like eBay have what are they doing? They've got enough time to actually do that stuff. So he admitted to cyber stalking. I heard this one was good. Yeah, this one's all right. So, come on, dark reading. Jesus, man, this is why we can't have nice things. There it is. 150 million over the next 2 years to boost open source resiliency and supply chain security. Linux Foundation joined 90 private sector executives and government leaders to create a 10-point plan. So they've got a plan for a plan. It's definitely going to be a thing. The plan outlines the need for about additional funding. Amazon, Google, Ericsson, Intel, Microsoft, and VMware have pledged initial investment of $30 million. Wait a minute. One, two, three, four, five, six companies have pledged $5 whole million for improved supply chain security. Okay, well, that's great. What we're doing here is converging a set of ideas and principles about what is broken out there and what we can do to fix it. Okay. Well, I guess with $30 million, you can hire a good team of people to make sure that happens. I mean, we're already seeing people looking at doing things like S bombs, making sure that software supply chain security is good. Yeah, so I guess the other six, other what 84 private sector executives and government organizations are ponying up the requisite amount of cash. So that's pretty cool. It's really important, I think, software supply chain security, being able to protect against those kinds of things. Companies like GitHub are already trying to do stuff like that with the 2FA for signing code, but you know, you end up with developers and companies that don't want to do what is necessary for that. So, let me see. Let's see. It's Friday, so Cranium Crooks, Sonic Wall. Oh, that big five F the F5 big IP thing just was all over the place. There's a lot of folks worried about issues there. Oh yeah, here you go. Threat roundup. Yep. There we go. You can go check that out as I read along. So there's several new Trojans. They found CACBot this week. There's a couple threat names. What is that? Upatray? I'm thinking it's up a tree, but probably not up a tree, but there we go. Cerber is a ransomware that encrypts documents, photos, databases, and other important files. Historically, this malware would replace files with encrypted versions and add the extension Cerber along, although in more recent versions, the other file extensions are used. Okay. Upagon is a Trojan that installs itself as a backdoor. Okay, so there's Loki bot. Varus. Varus is a Trojan and downloader, allows malicious actors to upload files to victims' computers. Your sniff. Hmm. Steals sensitive information from an affected host and acts as a malware downloader, commonly spread through malicious emails or exploit kits. Okay. And of course, Ghost Rat. So there's your threat breakdowns. This is nice because this is like real actionable intelligence. Like you can monitor these keys, or you can monitor for changes in these keys, or monitor for creation of certain keys that can cause you. You know what? Let's go ahead and Discord. I'm going to add this to our threat intelligence channel. Starting. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. Streaming mode is on. There we go. All right. So we're scroll down here to our threat intelligence channel. Just going to pop that in there. All right. So as you can see, well, I think I call it's called Better. So we have supporter channels. All of you are interested in joining. We have theme. I have a theme that I use for this, so I can follow along. Hopefully, my audio doesn't sound like crap once I've started up Discord, but we'll see. Okay. So IOCs collected from dynamic analysis of 20 different samples. So that's the CACBot one, but they scroll all the way down, so you can see file hashes, screenshots. Yeah, so each one of these has IOCs and IP addresses for various things. So like this might be a C2 server, for instance, or these are C2 discovered during that. These are different domain names used. Yeah, that makes sense. The domain names used by the malware does not necessarily include that they're maliciousness. Of course, you just add them anyway. It looks like some Azure stuff, so it looks like or it's meant to look like Azure Azure domains for that. This one looks very much like a Microsoft account, so it could be somewhat misleading to somebody. Well, oh, MSFT sounds like Microsoft thing. You can also put up filters looking for specific exe files. Of course, by the time these are already on your machines, it may be too late. But it's just something to think about when you're doing these things. All right, that's good stuff right there. All right, keep that one running. PowerShell scripts used to run malicious source code, reverse shell burst versus bind shell. Oh, okay, this is from rnetsec. Cybergeeks.tech. Okay. There you go. If you're interested in reading up on reverse and bind shells, there you go. There's that. Using MSF Venom, right? Generating PowerShell script will execute the reverse shell payload. That's a nice little walkthrough. Take a look at that. Yeah, CyberChef. They're using CyberChef to decode the base 64 of the original base 64 encoded shellcode. You can see what's going on there. Um, yeah, that looks like a good site. I might want to add that as a cancel some bitch. Okay, Cyber Geeks. That's how I get my news. I just aggregate through other aggregators. So there you go. All right. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, yeah. The exploit collector. They've already got exploit code for that because they announced it, and then it was like 2-3 days later there was the exploit code. So it's already an exploit collector. So there's POC code. You haven't patched this one. This one is not good, and they suggest that you just turn off the eye control system. The problem is it can affect like high availability configurations in this case. You just don't want to blindly turn this off. You want to take a look and make sure that you're not affected by that code. So Kitploit, excellent site, Kitploit. So you can go check out that source code if you'd like. Let me see. Any other news? Any other news? In-hand industrial routers. Okay. Security pros say mental health has declined. Well, that's something we're always worried about in information security or just any kind of technical security at all. New study has revealed a quarter of security professionals believe their mental health has worsened and is affecting productivity. 1,000 security. Okay, so 1,000 security professionals, 270 of which say their mental health has worsened over the past year. They're in the U.S. and Europe. Huh. Oh, post that up. I've been a little busy today, so I have had no chance of being able to go look up news stuff. So, and that goes to the discussion we just talked about earlier with leaving a job. If you need to leave that job because it's affecting your mental health, then that's another reason to want to leave if you can find a job that you feel is going to be better for your mental health. Sometimes it's not easy to talk to your boss, your current boss, and say, "Hey, place is shithole, and I need to do something different." Maybe you work in a small company. That's the also the downside of working for a small company. Not a lot of places you can go in that organization sometimes. So sometimes Crap Corp does have a better opportunity for you to get out of a specific department or group if that's something you're looking at doing. Mm, transforming SQL queries, bypassing WAF security. Oh, very interesting. I think we were discussing some of that in the MySQL channel, the MySQL module for. Why is dark being like that? Let's go check something else out while we're waiting for it to start. You've got Intel inside. You probably need to get these security patches too. Oh, all right. Intel has disclosed high severity of bugs in its firmware that's used in data center servers, workstations, mobile devices, storage products, and other gear. Okay, so as long as it's not too many things. In addition to patching these high severity vulnerabilities, Intel has also issued an advisory for what it calls a speculative cross store bypass, a data leaking hardware level security shortcoming it reckons is low in severity, which affects some of its processors. Hmm. Okay. Mm. This design oversight, which is a CVE. Okay. There we go. Observable behavioral discrepancy in some Intel processors may allow an authorized user. Okay, so there's a thing. It's an authorized user to potentially enable information disclosure via local access. And unfortunately, that's all the information you're going to get because I bet Intel's not really going to be overly forthcoming with this. Let's see. Prescriptive guidance to address this vulnerability. 2.5, low. Okay. Intel recommends any potential gadget utilizing an L fence after loads should observe writes from another thread to the same shared memory address. Okay. Interesting. Intel would like to thank Dan Ping, Lee, and oh, I don't want to even try that person. I appreciate that person from the Information Institute of Information Engineering, Chinese Academy of Sciences. Okay. My wonder is, I believe there's some legislation in China where if security researchers find vulnerabilities, they're actually supposed to report them to the Chinese government before they actually report them to Intel. So this vulnerability is probably in the hands of, well, in Chinese APT actors in this case. Any vulnerabilities found by a Chinese organization or group have to be disclosed to the government first. Yeah. So okay, so that's interesting. It's related to data leaking, speculative execution based Spectre and Meltdown flaws. Essentially, data in use by software can be unexpectedly leaked to a malicious program running on the same computer. Okay. Solution for this is to modify applications and other hard software so they cannot be snooped on. Okay. Specifically, Intel recommends adding an lfence instruction after certain load instructions in vulnerable sections of multi-threaded code. Okay. I just, man, that is incredibly. I mean, if I was a developer, an lfence thing, I'd be able to understand what that means specifically. But most severe security issues, including local privilege escalation vulnerabilities in firmware that impact systems by various Xeon Scalable, Rocket Lake Core, and Core X series processors. Okay, so we're going to be needing a BIOS update for our laptops, basically, or our computers. Oh, there's other vulnerabilities that are higher level severity. Okay, but you must be an already privileged user, assuming root or something like that, and involves improper input validation to x86 firmware code. All right. Well, hmm. There we go. There's a link to that. So, all right, I'm going to. I think I'm going to step aside on that. Close some of these links here. And oh, by the way, okay. So sadly, I have started liking Mastodon. So it's a little different. It's probably how I should have set up my Twitch or my Twitter to begin with, but instead of looking at um, you know just following specific people, you can follow things like entire you know uh, hashtags. So I've added reverse engineering as well because there's some items in here Apple GPUs. Oh, who was that? Uh, Nvidia. They talked about open sourcing their GPU, which was kind of interesting. Let me grab that link as well. Was it security? Uh, hmm, some strong opinions on privacy on here. That's the only thing I wonder about. Wow. Okay. Right. Is that it? No. Kurzweil. Okay. Where was that? Oh, here's a reverse engineering lab module. So there's some YouTube videos on reverse engineering. Copy link. Link. So Gidra, which actually talking to a friend of mine about having some regular discussions here. Wants to start doing that around the 21st of June next month. So we're gonna maybe have some regular discussions about that. So okay, so let me go. NVIDIA GPU open source. Here it is. According to their blog, they're going to release open source GPU kernel modules. Now, I don't know what that means to people. I've been told that the open source drivers for NVIDIA kind of suck. I understand there's some beta drivers out there that you run on like Arch Linux. I was going to actually try to run Linux on my laptop here and do some streaming and something because I was trying to see if it would be any different streaming, with a Linux box, if it runs any hotter, or it's GPU enabled. Unfortunately, I nearly bricked my laptop because I installed Linux on a thumb drive, this thumb drive, and Grub got installed, which nobody asked for that. And I had to go into, I had to get my recovery key from my Windows hard drive, go into disk partition on the command line, thankfully, and delete the Ubuntu module inside of the system drive, which is the where the bootloader and everything lives, to delete Grub off of my laptop. What a pain in the ass that was. It used to be you could install Linux on a thumb drive and just hit F12 and then boot to that instance. But no, you can't do that anymore. Um, yeah, it's kind of painful. I guess it's the secure boot thing which is causing the issues. If I had Windows installed on a regular non-UEFI, it would be a lot easier. So it might be something to think about later on. Let me see. So canonical. So there'll be an Ubuntu, SUSE, Red Hat. Uh, let's see. R55. So CUDA toolkit under the beta drivers. Can GPU kernel modules be installed or distributed? There'll be a GPL MIT dual license. Okay. My wonder is how open source this actually is. Are we going to get a bunch of blobs and some libraries, or what does a kernel module look like? Is it a blob, or is it actually going to be source code that we can compile and look through? Um, and this affects the open source drivers like Nouveau. OpenBSD's got NV. I would imagine that they're, oh, see, this is going to bringing new features to the entry Nouveau driver. Well, speaking of the devil, there you go. Published source code serves as a reference to improve the Nouveau driver. Okay, so they can leverage the same firmware used by the NVIDIA drive. Okay, so this is a firmware blob that we're going to be getting that will be used. So whereas like OpenBSD, I believe, created a clean room driver version called NV for NVIDIA chipsets, but I don't know how mature it is. And it's been 5, 6 years since I've heard anything more about any of the drivers that have been working over there. So, but there you go. So you're going to get some more firmware talking about drivers for those things. So, all right. Okay, let's go and check out Hack the Box. I have to kick off here in about 30 minutes. So, Fox Academy. I'm going to go have dinner with my wife and daughter before I head off to LA for a week's worth of work, which is going to be super happy, mega fun times. meeting potentially. I have a handshake agreement with a fellow streamer as well to have drinks on Monday night in LA with him. So hopefully we'll be able to sit down and talk and share stories and what works and what doesn't for you know uh, streaming and ideas and thinking about things. Maybe doing some I'd love to get some collaboration and some discussion with him. We'll see what happens with those. But yeah, all right. So I really want to finish this up before we continue on through. So we are working through. Got a bunch of lurkers. What's going on? Cheeto Bandito, GoPro Slow Yo, hello. Paige and Sec, look at that. Hello, Paige. And the NR02. Got some lurkers. Hello, Paige. All right, full screen. I can close the Mastodon one here. Doink. All right, so man, minute you start playing around with that. Let me make sure I have my power settings set to something other than best power efficiency. Yeah, okay, that's what I assumed. All right. Hopefully that'll make things a little faster. All right. So worst comes to worst, I won't be able to figure this out until Sunday. I won't be streaming tomorrow because obviously I'll be wiped from Bsides Seattle. But I will try to do something Sunday night and then maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. I'll try to do at least one or two streams while I'm down there. One definitely, but all right. So perform active infrastructure identification against host HTTP imager.com. What server name is returned for the host? I think we tried the curl on this and it didn't work. Copy. I think we tried curling this -H to get the headers and that didn't work. So let me make sure. Curl -H. Yeah, there we go. Okay. -V. So this one was so easy. So they're all right. So we got a -V. Location served by. All right, so we're going to scroll up here. Server certificates, subject US, California, San Francisco, imager.com. Let's see, stream host is i.imager.com, which is probably not it. I think we want the server name. I tried going to the browser and that didn't work. It came up with an error message the last time we tried this. I'm going to try it again. It's not the first time we've ever tried something and it didn't work because the system was down. So, okay. Boy, this is, there we go. Connection 0, host imager left intact. All right, so https i.imager.com. Yeah, it didn't work the last time. Yeah, headers we're seeing is imager.com. So server name. All right, let me see. How do you get curl server name from, damn it, from an URL? I remember this. It still thinks I'm in Germany. So there you go. Is that let me in? Okay, so that's the German version of let me in. Let me see here. Specify host name for an HTTP request. Curl dash header host. Okay, so the no, okay, no, HTTP header for the TLS handshake. SNI, yeah. Okay, you need at least version 7.18, which we're running version. We must be running a later version. This is how old is this discussion? 4 years ago. Okay, so I'm hoping we're running the latest version of curl. Let me see. CURL dash capital V 7.74. All right, so plenty of room there. So, oh, okay. So, imager.com host i.imager.com. Okay, so let's try that. Curl. Can you imagine what they see every day when they're looking at these things? Host is host was i.imager.com and it's https i.imager.com. Okay. Is there dash V or something I'm missing here? Dash V. There we go. Oh, that's a little nicer. I think it's the same thing we just had, so it's not much difference. Location, http imagers.com. All right. Selected answer. Help me find the answer. Okay. Curl. Oh, we could use dig. Let's see. Okay, so dig any i.imager.com. Let's go back over here and look at our cheat sheet. So active active infrastructure identification. Active identification. Curl dash I. Okay. Subdomain.list Aquatone. Yeah, we're not using Aquatone. Okay, so I https i.imager.com. Guessing it's the same stuff we saw with the try dash V. It's the same stuff we were getting with the other system here. Strict transport security. I need some hacking music. I think that ship has sailed, so we'll just deal with this as is. Alt name host imager matched search star.imager.com. Using HTTP2, server supports multi-use. Okay. Host user agent accepts. All right. So, and of course, I've already looked at this one. It was like, oh, you got to use a tool like Sublister. Great. Okay. Don't think it's imgur.com. That's probably too easy. Yeah, see, incorrect answer. There is a server name. It's just we've got to figure out what it is. So active infrastructure identification, curl dash I, the HTTP webs. Okay, so we don't want to use Aquatone. That's not what we want to use. So, All right, let me scroll back up to when we were talking about active infrastructure identification. I want to open that up, see if there's anything we missed in here. So So we run, yeah, looking for the HTTP headers server. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, powered by cookies. You'll be looking up. Can you imagine if they pulled, if what web? Okay, they modified that. Can you get server name from what web? Let me see. Script text, HTML, scripts. Okay, so it's going to detect plugins, XSS protection values, HTTP headers. So far, I haven't seen a server name on any of this. So, okay. Laugh Wolf. Okay, so they've done checks on using Aquatone. I don't think that's correct either. So, cat, Facebook, Aquatone, timeout. Okay. Aquatone report. Nope, that's not what we're looking for either. Server name. Okay. Okay, so that was, yeah, so we're just getting the same stuff over and over again here. Oh, damn. Right. Which operating system? Which CMS? Hmm. Oh, hey, Kim Security, what's up? I hate myself, and I'm trying to finish up the information gathering web skills assessment, and I'm failing miserably. So there you go. You've just okay. So you've decided to join on the GitHub bug bounty program after a friend of yours got a large payout for an RCE flaw. After reading the rules carefully, you begin passive and active information gathering. Thanks, Kim Security. It is the fun. Um, okay, bounty GitHub scope. All right, let's go look at the scope. Maybe the scopes will have information that we need here. So GitHub assets. This is our domain for hosting static assets. I'm waiting on one of my tutoring clients to enter the session. Which session? This session, or are you? Is that the mentees you were? I think you were talking about that in our Discord, right? Accept. These are some interesting GitHub apps, GitHub webhooks. I wonder. See, maybe. Well, no, I guess I can't. These are out of scope, and then I should not be trying to bang on those. Let's see. All subdomains are under githubapp.com are in scope except. Okay. SEML, yes. LGTM, NPM.js. It's a separate session, a Zoom like digital call. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. Hope you have a good time with your tutoring clients. What are you teaching them? Let me see. Legal safe harbor. That's nice. They got a safe harbor for people. That's cool. I think they wanted to reiterate, don't futz around with anything that isn't GitHub, GitHub app. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Okay, high school physics. All right. Wowzers. Okay. Any good physics news recently? One particle on two paths. Quantum physics is right. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Math, chemistry, physics, statistics, and physics at the high school undergrad level. Okay. Physicists discover light-induced or mechanism for ferroelectric polarization. Oh, very cool. Hey, University of Arkansas. My wife went to U of A. So, okay. ferroelectricity and the ability to polarize spontaneously. Typically, researchers can manipulate and reverse polarization by application of an external electric field. Okay. Ultra fast interactions between light and matter are another promising route for controlling ferroelectric polarization. But until now, researchers have struggled to achieve a light induced deterministic control of such polarization. There you go. Good times. Y'all read about some physics, yo. I've always been interested in science, and one of the best trips that I've ever taken got to visit the Large Hadron Collider um, in Geneva. Oh God, that was what 2014? I think it was 2014. But that was very interesting. The Atlas and the CMS experiments. If you ever get a chance, and you're like doubting like whether or not you should go, you should definitely go. We actually were toured. An actual astrophysicist toured us around the the buildings, the Atlas and the CMS uh, areas, and it's just the sheer size of the place and that's some big science. Definitely some big science. If you ever get a chance to go to CERN and check that out, you for the longest time, the geek in me, um, I my phone at the time, I've always wanted to go, but life always gets in the way. Well, to be fair, the Large Hadron Collider's not going anywhere, so it's much like England or something. It's like it's it's going to be there. For the longest time, I had the Wi-Fi access point name in my phone because I was like, "Ooh, I want to show people I've been to CERN because here's the name of the CERN thing." And then I realized, well, I could have just called my own home Wi-Fi access point CERN, and that would have been fine. But yeah, I kept it in there as like a badge of, I don't know, badge of geekery or whatever they call it. Um, but yeah, that was definitely a fun day of travel to CERN and got to meet the the not the astrophysicist. No, he was a nuclear physicist. That's right, because he told us about the strong force and color theory, uh, talking about color theory, about nuclear force. So yeah, we set up in a classroom that looks straight out of like 1980s like Dead Poet Society with like state not even stadium seating, but he's on a old school green chalkboard with real chalk, and he was talking about color charges and quarks and gluons and stuff. But yeah, I was talking about all this stuff, and they were all really excited because they just found the Higgs boson, the Higgs field, which they didn't know was a field, I think, at the time. And it was um, CMS and Atlas were down for maintenance while they upgraded the Large Hadron Collider. But yeah, so was talking about all these various things here. So color charge is pretty cool. Um, yeah, but yeah. So all right, sorry to derail from my failure at doing this stuff, but yeah, let's go back over here. Active infrastructure identification against imager.com. What server name is returned for the host? Get server name. Turn my fans on. My When your hand rests on your laptop is warm, then you know that maybe the laptop's a little on the warm side too. So, or using curl. Curl with SNI, server name indicator. Okay, I think I've already done that one. So let's see. Curl URL. I don't want to do any of that. That doesn't seem like that would be a good idea. Curl dash one. Huh. Okay, along with the requirement resolve to send SNI to curl. Oof, well, that sounds complicated. I'm in the same way. I'm failing at this. Let's go. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, chemist security. Yeah. Um, Yeah. All right. Let's go read some blogs and stuff here and see if we can figure out how to do this without necessarily cheating on things. It says here curl dash H. So let's see if I can make this a little larger. There we go. Curl dash H host, which the host is imager.com. And then the HTTP address is dash v dash I. Okay, so I've got all that stuff. The requested host header. Let me see. Okay. SNI sends the host name inside the TLS handshake. Oh, you know what? This feels, oh God, this feels like we're going to have to collect the packets or something like that. We're going to have to get, oh, I wonder if we can just expand the verbosity of the, I wonder if we could just expand the verbosity of the curl. No, I don't think that worked. I have a feeling we're gonna have to make like an OpenSSL connection or something. Maybe OpenSSL dash VVV HTTPS i.imager.com. That's not gonna work, you rat bastard. I don't type good, so nobody's ever accused me of being typer. Okay, so how do you make an OpenSSL connection? Connect using OpenSSL. Ah, there we go. Okay. I wonder. Test ssl.sh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Test ssl.sh. ssl.sh. Okay, so what I want is I just want the let's see here. Man, did he ruin it? No, there's the file. Okay, so just pull that down. Save. Okay. Maybe the diagnostic capabilities of test SSL.sh will allow me to get the code that I need. All right, so schmod 755. Sorry, folks, I'm old school, so I use octal notation. That should make it executable, which it does. RWX, RX, RX. So test ssl.sh on https i.imager.com. All right, yes. Yeah, he fucked it up. All right. This is what happens when you keep adding shit to something. You just end up screwing it up. So used to be just a nice simple SSH script or a shell script, and now you've got to Docker it and all that bullshit. So that's unfortunate. Guess I'll have to find a better product. So oh, thank you, Kimmy Sack. I would love to hydrate. Unfortunately, all I have is foot powder, so that's not going to happen. Oh, I'll figure it out. All right, let's access allow origin. It's got to be something simple like Yeah, yeah, it's just foot powder. No, I ended up, of course, my earlier difficulties. I was, and thank you so much for the bits. I do appreciate the bug, or sorry, the bugs, 100 bugs. I actually changed it from bolts to bugs, so now everybody's getting some bugs. So let me see. Is there any other tools mentioned that would help us with this? I don't think it's WAF Woof. I don't think it's any of those things. It's just active infrastructure ID. Curl dash I doesn't give us anything good. What web? Maybe. Can't imagine what web is useful for this. It's supposed to do underlying technology. Uh, okay, so am I the only one that read that wrong? What web dash A? Okay, so they have a typo on their site. So apparently A is the aggression level. I'm assuming you can get rid of that, but that's incorrect. Incorrect. Do you have to have an aggression level, I wonder? Nope. It'll probably default to something, but I'll just let that run for a few minutes. Worst thing could happen is I get an answer. Or best thing could happen is I get an answer. All right, let's try WAF Woof. There we go. Okay, so we've got the headers, which showed us nothing, remember, earlier. Too many requests. The IP address is 192.192.193. String cat factory. MSDN, Microsoft.com. Stringimager.com. Title, IP address. This feels like one of those things where you're going to have to do like multiple things to figure it out. So like now we would do like a who is. That's Fastly. So that's the Fastly address on this. Any other IP addresses? X served by cache fra 199. Yeah. Cat Factory 1.0. So it sounds like that they've obfuscated this a little bit instead of putting the actual server header string. Is it? No, surely not. Don't know why I'm putting this in. Son of a bitch. God. Okay. All right. So yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So this is I would yeah, I would not have actually thought this was going to work. All right. So for those of you following along, uh performing active infrastructure identification against Imager.com, it appears that Imager in their um for whatever reason made obfuscated their the type of server or whatever that they're using. So using the command, in this case, what web, to do a fingerprint or whatever technology is being used here. The HTTP server reply is Cat Factory 1.0 because ideally, I'm assuming they don't want to tell people what they're using. So I guess we go what web, uh, I don't know, HTTPS google.com. dash V. We'll be able to see what maybe they have a different one there. So let's see. All right, so Control C. All right, so we'll scroll up here. So their server string header is GWS. Okay, so they're using a server string. So I got it mixed up. I thought it was actually going to be a host name. Instead, they just have an HTTP server header, and it's called Cat Factory 1.0. That's where that one come from. I would not have expected it to be formatted this way. So that would have that would be why I did not get it right. All right. So we're going to perform active domain enumeration against the target github Which subdomain has the word elephants in the name? Which subdomain has the word elephants in the name? All right. So active subdomain enumeration. Now I have to leave in 20 minutes with my wife. So if I don't get this one done, I'll just work on it tonight and then send a screenshot out if that's actually a thing that happens. All right. So we're going to do active enumeration. I'm going to attempt to do an ns lookup dash any. Well, no, because server that I'm going to be looking it up against probably doesn't do zone transfers unless you're a DNS server yourself. It's probably trusted. I'm assuming if they're smart, they're using something like DNSSEC to do authentication between DNS servers so that somebody can't just do like myself and run a domain DNS transfer. So they already mentioned using something like Sublister. So the hint was Sublister, which is a tool, right? It's Python, yes. -H for help. So Sublister -H. All right, so you need to Cat Factory. Jesus. I have to talk to a friend of mine about that, see what's going on with that. So, all right. So here's the switches and the syntax for sublister. -H is help. -D is domain, which in this case, the domain is the domain is githubapp.com. So, all right. All right. So the domain is githubapp.com. GitHub app.com. Right? Double check, make sure. Yeah, githubapp.com. All right. And we can hit enter on that and see what happens. It says okay. Interesting. Okay. I wonder if that's part of a heartbeat thing for like load balancing. Let's go see what we can find when we inspect the response from that. Network. Reload. Okay, so we didn't get a lot, which is as expected. And what are we looking for? We're making sure which subdomain has the word elephants in it. All right, so we're just going to do a subdomain look. So we need to go sublister. Okay, -D domain is githubapp.com. Okay. Ports, scan the subdomains found, specified TCP ports, no. Verbosity, no. Engines, no. Maybe. B, brute force. Could be this easy. I don't know. Let's see. Let's do -V and see what we come up with. Oh, well, there you go. Seriously? Virus total is probably now. What? Virus total probably now is blocking our requests. Okay, Control C. Let's. Derp. Oh, wow, that's not good. That's a dump. Okay, so let's see if we can find. Is there an elephant? Up. Fastly elephants, maybe? Fastly -elephants. Okay. Wow. That one was hmm. It is definitely one of those things where you step away for a few minutes and it actually works. So I got 20 more things. I hate giving 5 stars on things because there's always room for improvement, but I think some of that was just my own inability to think things through. And to be fair, um, there's a bit of stress here, right? People watching me and doing things, and we go to conferences. Like some of these conferences, like the B-sides tomorrow, when I go to that, there's going to be people trying to do demos during the show or during the show during their talk, and it may not come off well. Um, that is me every time I do this stream. Um, so yeah. Let's see. All right, so I can close that. Okay, so for those of you watching, all I had to do was okay. So I'm going to stop doing that. That's a thing. So if you are looking to enumerate domains on an instance, oh, I broke my system. I broke my widow instance. Oh, that's because we've used it. In this case, it was uh, you go sub lister dash D, and then you look up GitHub app.com. So I'm not going to hit enter, obviously, but that was the command you had to use. You can always go back earlier in the stream and find that, but yeah. So, all right. So we finished the web gathering edition. So that's pretty cool. All right. SQL Map Essentials. We're going to use a lot of SQL Map. I believe, like I said, OSCP test uh, taking. Yeah. So I believe, okay, what I want to see is, yeah, learn more about the exam. I believe they say SQL Map is one of the applications that is not allowed. Which tools are allowed for the new exam? Okay, so Mimikatz, Crack Map Exec, Responder, poisoning and spoofing not allowed. Evil WinRM, Rubius, PowerView, Covenant, PowerShell Empire, Sharphound, and Bloodhound. All right, so tools not allowed. Tools not allowed. Exam restrictions. Here we go. All right. Exploit code proofs. Exam restrictions. Here we go. So yeah, automatic exploitation tools. So Autopwn, Browser Autopwn, SQL Map, SQL Ninja, etc. And of course, Nexpose, OpenVAS. Interesting. Canvas and Core Impact are not. I wonder if they allow Carbon Black. Not Carbon Black. Shit, it's the one that got open sourced or busted. Anyway, yeah. So those SQL Map is not allowed on the OSCP exam. So just for your own edification, use it at your own risk, and understand that. So, all right. So, um, run SQL Map against this example. Located example.com vuln php.1. It would look like the following. So you're going to run a bunch of different tests. It's going to run a bunch of filters. You can definitely tweak this and filter this accordingly. Um, you'll get specific information here. And, to be fair, some of this you might want to double check and make sure that it's good before if this is what you're paying, this is what you do for a security assessment, make sure that these things are looked at before you put them in a report. Make sure that, this information not only is not a false positive, but what happens if they were to, run that payload and what do they get from that? Because if you run this on a database and you're like, oh, I've cracked this database. Okay, great. What data is in there? You want to show what is possible by cracking that database. If the database is full of a bunch of test data and the test data is crap, you've just spent time and effort scanning a test database with crap in it. Now, like most good development organizations, they don't anonymize that data. And a good testing organization or a good dev organization will actually make fake data in their test environment. Crappy ones will just take production data and put it in their test environment. Yeah, happens a lot. All right, so we're going to mark that one complete. All right, so the end of the previous section, SQL map output showed a lot of info during the scan. The scan is usually crucial to understand as it guides us through the authenticated injection process. This shows us exactly what kind of vulnerabilities SQL map, SQL map is exploiting, which helps us to report what injection the application has. This can also become handy if we wanted to manually exploit the web application once SQL map determines the type of